Hello, hello. I think I'm live. Yay, I'm live. It's so good to see you guys. I wanted to share with you some of the ways I made my cards from the last demo I did. But I also wanted to wait for more people to show up. But while we're waiting, I figured I would show and tell some of the Brusho cards that I've made. And I actually go into detail a lot more on how I stamp and make the cards in my card class at the Fine Artist Café Academy, which is it's a super fun class, and my students have really enjoyed learning how to use Brusho with their cards. But anyways, this was the stencil where I just left the stencil on the paper, and then stencil did all the work. I just let it dry, and then all I did was add some black ink to stamps and made a cute little card for somebody. This one was I lifted out some of the mermaid scales, and then I added some of the mermaid scales back in with a darker color, and I just made that into a mermaid card, which I think will be fun to give to a tween or a teen, something vibrant and happy. This one turned out really fun. This one was the stencil it was the Majestic stencil from Tailored Expressions, and I added the yellow is New Gamboge, and then I added red on top of it with the stencil, and then I I just stamped this stamp onto it to make a cute little card. So I thought that was kind of fun. And then I made another card very much the same way. I had the DZ stencils and then just the Majestic geometric stencils. So um, that's always fun. Now these I actually did with embossing folders and watercolor. So I embossed watercolor paper, and then I used Brusho on it, and the embossing paper actually held up pretty well. Here's another one. I really love this one. This one's probably one of my favorite cards I've made in a little while. I know it's probably simple, but I love the roses. I love how the Brusho um, worked with the watercolor and with the rose. I just think this is a lovely card to give to somebody. And I have a couple of students that I wanted to give this to. So I thought this would be a fun way to give them a card that's saying, hey, I'm thinking of you. And then there was this one where I actually put some Brusho on first. I was thinking flowers or floral motif, and then once the pigment was all dry, I sent it into a with an embossing folder, and that's what I got. So I don't know. I think they're pretty fun. I've enjoyed making these cards, and if you are at all curious on how to make cards with Brusho, my class is fairly inexpensive. I put like 8 hours of really wonderful time and effort into it, and so those were the cards that I made from the last couple of demos that I've showed, and you can look at them on the Facebook page, or they're also on the Academy. If you don't want to buy the class, the demos are still free. So anyways, I'd love to know, do you have a favorite? These are the stencil cards that I made, and then anyways. Oh, thank you. Yeah, the Fine Art Cafe Academy, you guys have some really awesome lessons. I definitely recommend checking them out. Hey, Debbie. It's good to see you. um, so yeah, I've been staying kind of busy. My kids have been keeping me a little busy, and I haven't been creating as much, but that's to be expected. But I've enjoyed being able to share my creativity in other ways. So yeah, it's good to be back doing some demos and just sharing my love of Brusho. Well, I say it's 2 o'clock, and I would love for. Um, I'm really excited for this, and so I don't like waiting, because when I have to wait, it means I can't do what I love. But I'll go ahead and show you a little bit on what I did. So with this flamingo, I actually made a couple, because can't do just one. So I did two different versions. They're both very dramatic. I find that this is probably a little bit more dramatic, and I really like that. Oh no, Kathy, I don't know. You can't see my video, but you can hear it? Oh, you can't see my lessons. Oh, Kathy, email me and I'll try and figure something out. Or comment, tag me in a post so we can connect. I'll try and connect with you. But I'm glad you're here. Hopefully this can help. And my camera is a little bit not straight, so that's probably a little bit better. And there, a little bit more straight. Okay, all right, so two of these are done with this stamp right here. It's a Blue Night stamp. It is bluenightstamps.com if you're, and I just used archival ink. My archival ink looks like something like this. It's black, it's an ink pad, and I'll just stamp. I need a new ink pad, but it works for now. I'll just stamp it and then stamp it on the paper. I definitely love using stamps because my drawing is good, but I feel like I'm still learning to draw the way I want to draw. So, anyways, I like using stamps. Stamps to me just make my heart happy. And then I thought, well, so these are called silhouette stamps. So they're big, kind of blocky. They're meant to be used with black ink, and then you can add color to the background. Here's another one. I'm just sharing you with these so you can kind of get the idea of like what you can do with these stamps. Very much silhouetted. Here's another one, and actually comes with a happy birthday. So you can do some fun things with this one too, and it comes with the sun or the moon or whatever light you want to use. And then I have this one, and I really like that one too for silhouette stamps. But they're all on Blue Night Stamps, and I know the owner. She's pretty awesome. Her name is Lynn Anderson, and anyways, I know that she puts a lot of love and care in making those stamps. So anyways, so every time I make these sunsets, they always come up a little bit different. I don't know if you guys feel the same way or what, but I feel like I can never recreate the same thing with Brushos. That's kind of the fun part of it. It's also, if you're looking for a certain technique that you want to get like right all the time, Brushos is probably not going to be one of those, but it's still going to be really fun to play with. Okay, so then I thought it would be fun to do a demo with this is actually done with it's a Sakura Pigma brush pen, and so that's the pen. It's archival ink or waterproof ink, and so it's not gonna go anywhere when I get it wet. And I did that one real quick just with a little bit of grass and things. This one I wanted to change up a little bit and do some more grass and just a little more, I don't know, I would call it desert prairie-ish. So that's what I did, but I'll show you how I did that real quick before we get to the sunsets, because I really want you to see how this pen works. This is my brush, archival ink, and it's black. It comes in different colors. You could get green or red, or I just got this set of 6 different colors, and I really like that. So and it's a brush pen, so I can use it like a brush. So I'm just gonna draw very loosely a landscape, and I like that. And then I'm gonna add my grass. If I want very thick, I can. I'm just playing with my marks. And and maybe I will do a couple different, if I'm looking at my, I always like to have kind of an example. I'm going to go ahead and just add some wheat flowers just because I can. Now you don't have to do this. I just like the black. I like the, I just have fun with it. That one would probably have less, I bet, if I were to really look at the nature. There, I like that. I could add more, I could add less. I could use my micron pen and come in here and add little rocks if I wanted to. This is a 5.5 pen, so I got lots of little details that I could use if I felt like it. You could just doodle grasses and shrubbery all day and get a beautiful scene, but for the sake of time, I thought I would just kind of show you that this brush pen does a lot, and it's really fun to play with. I've been having a lot of fun playing with florals, with floral inks. I'll show you one. This was an iris I drew with the brush pen, and so anyways, it's on a 9x12 piece paper, or 7x10 mixed media paper, so it's fun. It keeps me busy. I can do it while my kids are watching TV or something. But anyways, let's get started. I'll start with the flamingo because I think flamingos are really fun. With this, it's a very wet technique, so I really like to get it, I like my paper to just kind of just stay on. And I also know where my focal point is, and my focal point is at the bottom where the horizon is. And so I want to keep that in mind as well. And I'm just gonna, you do not have to do this. For me, it usually works. When I say it usually works, I don't ever seem to have a problem with it sticking until I do a demo, and then it's like, I'm not gonna work for you. Okay. The ink's not going anywhere because it's archival ink. It's gonna stay on the paper. It's not doing nothing. So if I know I want my lightest value to be right here. So I'm gonna add my yellow first. I always go from lightest to darkest when it comes to Brusho. I don't know if anyone else does that. If you do, I'd love to know. I'm gonna look at comments real quick. I'm just letting the Brusho kind of do its thing. Yeah. Yes, mention permanent markers. Permanent markers would also work. Yeah, if you have Sharpies, use Sharpies. Okay, I really like that. Now, I'm the kind of artist that will move her paper around. I don't know, does anyone else like to? So, if I know there's a lot of Brusho on my paper, I'll move it around. Sorry, I'm trying to... There. And so I will take it a little bit at a time, and I know that this is my lightest value, so I'm just going to splatter some water on the paper and let it kind of flow a little bit more. I'm okay with that. And I don't really want any harsh lines at the moment. I want to be completely free of harsh lines. But that looks pretty good. I can use my... Okay, so there's this nice, pretty, like, golden, warm light coming through. I want to, I guess, amp up the saturation a bit, so I'm going to add some of that orange right here. And again, I'm going to take my water. I could spray it. I think I will. I feel like Brushos, it has to be an intuitive process. There's no right way to use Brushos as long as you're not pouring like the whole bottle on your paper. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, now, so now I can add my alizarin crimson right around here and probably right around here. In fact, I'll just add somewhat right there just to give it the hint of. I am just loving these flamingos. They make my heart happy. Now I'm not using very much Brusho. That's the trick. The trick is to not use very much Brusho. And I am letting gravity do most of the work. I am just, what do they call that? The vehicle for it to come to life. That's what I feel like. And if you feel like, wow, that's really pink, just add more water and you can let it flow away. Brusho is very forgiving in that aspect. I also like Brusho because it is so forgiving. I am spraying this because I'm going to come back with some purple, with some violet, and that's going to change the pink. So it looks like there's a lot of pink, and there is. I'm going to go back in with this and add some more orange here, wherever I feel like it needed it. And I'm just spraying lightly, very lightly. I really want to see the colors mingling on the paper. And at the same time, okay, now I can go back in with my violet. I'm going to keep tilting my paper. And I'm probably being a little more strategic, definitely, with where I'm putting the violet. Because I want my violet to be like the dramatic part of the painting. I'm hoping that makes sense. Does that make sense? Okay, so violet looks very blue to me. And I think it has a lot of ultramarine into it. Maybe I'm wrong. If someone knows, I'd love to know. And again, every time I do this, it changes how it looks. So it's a lot of practice and a lot of play, and if I say so myself, a lot of fun. I didn't really love that those colors together, so I'm mixing it up a bit. Yeah. Now, because I added so much of that orange, now I can go back and add some more alizarin crimson. And this time I'm going to be very strategic. When I say I just mean I'm going to activate the brush crystals by flicking water on my page until I feel like that's enough water for it to move around. Oh, isn't that gorgeous? To me, that reminds me of definitely a Florida sunset. And then I just like to clean off my edges a bit. And so while that's drying, I will go ahead and put that to the side. I would just let it be. The more you mess with it, once you get it right, don't mess with it. It's easier to mess with it after it's completely dry than to try and mess with it when it's wet. So let it go. Less is more. Thank you, Jen. Yes, less is more when it comes to Brusho. Okay, so if you noticed with I'll do a little bit of color theory just so you guys understand why I did what I did. I didn't explain that very well. So when I put yellow down here, I put my Nugon Bojan, my orange, which is yellow, orange, and then red. If I put orange up here and then violet, that violet and orange would get muddy and we would get brown. And the last thing I want in a sunset is brown. So that's why when I got the violet down here a bit, I hurried up and cleaned that up because I knew that if I didn't clean that up, I would have gotten mud. And I probably could have cut it, but if this was a piece of artwork and I was looking for a vibrant sunset, I would not want brown. So that's where I cleaned it up real fast. So I always like to have like a what I call a buffer color. So like I like orange and I like purple together, but I need a little strip of something so the orange and the purple or the yellow and the purple do not become mud. And another way to do that is to just like not have color there. So I'm going to try that. It may or may not work. Sometimes it works great, sometimes it doesn't. I think it will. I have all the confidence that it will work. But sometimes Brushos will do what they want and there's nothing you can do about it. So this was the one that I previously used a pin on. But let's go ahead and just start. I'm going to say, we'll do yellow right here in the middle of this beautiful thing. And because I can, I'm going to add a little bit more here. And there. I'm going to go ahead and use my brush. Oops, I had a little bit of alizarin crimson on it, but that's okay. It's not going to show up. I'm loving this yellow. Okay, that is looking pretty good. I'm gonna let it a little bit. I felt like I got way too much water on. And what I want to do is I just kind of want to have this like almost white-ish band. Now we'll just go with I'm just getting it started, activated. And I think because the yellow is so pale, I can get away with this. We'll see. But it looks like I'm going to move this so it does not get in the way. Okay. You can kind of see, I can see a little bit of it mixing, but so far pretty good. Now what I'll do is I'll wait for this to dry and I can put another layer on it so I can add some purple or some yellows down here. And I think I'm okay with that purple's right there because I'm actually going to add some purples in here where it's lighter. I still want to say, hey, we got this beautiful warm sunset going, but I can be pretty strategic even in this early stage and add a little bit here and there, which is what I want to do. This does take practice, and it takes a little, but I think the hardest part is just trying and failing. But that's okay, 'cause that's part of how we learn. I'm just wiping up the extra water that I don't want. And I'm going to go ahead and just add this over this way, make it look like a... I'm going to get too much mud right there, so I'm going to like let that kind of just fade off. And why not let gravity work? Okay, and so now I can let that be. I really like that sky so far. I think I would add a little bit of maybe blue skies up there, and then I'll add some more yellows to really make those pop, but that will dry really pretty, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and put that aside and let that dry. And now for the last one, before I go back and touch up the other two. Hopefully they'll dry. Here's the one that I just did the demo on, and we'll go with a like a dramatic reddish orange blue sky. And for this, we'll go the opposite way, I think. Why not? We can. Don't want lines. It's very much like blending with watercolor. So if you feel pretty good about blending, then you're probably going to do pretty good with this. I like to use lots of water. And I also like to add water like this way, because I feel like it's a much more natural thing than painting. Then if I want to actually paint, I can. I just find it very relaxing almost to just splatter water on Brusho. I'm sure I'm not the only one. I think Brusho can be a great form of therapy when you are stressed out. Okay, and again, I don't really want white spots, so I can always fix those white spots with a different darker color, but I don't know if I want a darker color yet, so they're just all getting painted white at this point. Okay, and I'm not loving this shape right here. I think it could be a bit more dramatic, so I'm going to add that, and I'm just going to let it sit there. When I say let it sit there, what I really mean is I'm going to sprinkle it some more with water, and then I'm going to let it kind of drip and do its own thing. So I already have lots of things doing their own thing. But that's what makes the sky so pretty. Okay. Now, yes, the watercolor paper is buckling because I didn't have it onto the board. I'm okay with that. Okay, now we can go into our orange a tad bit. Maybe right here. This technique also works really well with like flowers. There. It's almost so, it's just so pretty. I see right here where I want to add a little bit of this red. This crimson, alizarin crimson. So I do feel like I'm just adding layers on layers on layers. Added a little bit of new gamboge to the top because I felt like if I didn't do something, it was gonna not tell the correct story that I wanted it to tell. Which I want it to read as a sunset, not as a, I don't know, something different. Now I'm just adding water to kind of make it flow a little bit. I want it to be very organic. Also going to dab it up a little bit. Now I can add my new gamboge, and that will make a lot more sense. New gamboge is a warmer yellow, so it works really well with a alizarin crimson. Okay. Oh, look at that look at that sunrise. That is beautiful. Now I did add a little bit of water droplets. Since I had one right there, I might as well add a couple more over here. And I get those by when the paper is a little bit wet. I think that's going to look beautiful. I'm going to let that dry. We'll come back to it and see what we think. And give me just a second. I'm going to read through the comments to make sure I don't have any questions, and then I'll come back and we can look at some of the ones that are drying and see what else we can do to make them look beautiful. Although when I do that, I see this right here needs a little bit more pigment, so I'm just going to add a little bit of new gamboge right there. Kind of see it, and then I'm going to lightly spray it, like barely touching the water nozzle, just enough to get water on the page. Whew, that is one pretty sunset. Okay, hold on. You are right, Marianne. It is an Escoto Versatile, and I love it. And I love it so much that I rubbed the writing off of my brush, so there's no more writing on the brush. It's my favorite. It's also Angela Fair's favorite too. Yeah, thank you, Jan. This is, I don't know what I call it. I call it yard sign board. it's the stuff that printers make yard signs out of. But I just go to the printer and I ask for them without printed stuff on it, and it works wonderful. I can also, and I'll show you, I'll just add some pigment right here and then brush and use it as a palette. And so it's very cheap. I think when I do watercolor workshops here in town, in-person workshops, I have a bag of like, I think they're like 12 by 9 boards like this, and I think they were like maybe 50 cents a piece, and it works out very well. So yeah. Yeah, water spots are happy accidents, and I love the texture that I'm getting right in there. I'm a little leery about right here because I think that it's going to dry a harder line than I want, and I'm afraid that if I mess with it right now, it's just going to make it worse, so I'm going to let it be and then come back to it later and see. But I can also negative paint it so it looks like there's mountains or something in the background. We'll see what happens. It looks kind of messy, but I like the colors and the textures. Let me show you the adhesive that I use. Someone asked about the cards. What do I do to put the cards on? So, there's two different ways I like to. If I spent a ton of time on a card, for example, I just really love this one, and I really do. I might use different adhesive because it's really a pretty card. So what I would do, I'll move this out of the way, and I would use, this is it's called foam mounting tape, and so it's like an 1/8 of an inch thick, but it's foam, and it's a double adhesive, and so I could just mount the whole thing onto a, I call it an A2 card base. Basically what it is, I'll show you real quick. I go to the printer, I'll buy a ream of like 120 cardstock, a ream of 120 cardstock, and you know, so this is a full 8.5 by 11 sheet. I'll have them cut it in half for me, and then I can just fold this in half and have a A2 card ready for me. And so when I am not feeling creative, I can just fold a whole bunch of these at once and then put my card panel onto the base. I hope that makes sense. So that's one way I use that's one way, is to use this. And I got this from Tailored Expressions. I think it comes in a really big roll. I probably used half of it so far. I think you get it for like 20 bucks, but it'll last you for a while. I would say you'd probably get maybe 50 to 75 cards if you do it right. The other adhesive that I like is called, it's a tape gun. It's a tape runner or glider, and it's just, it has sticky adhesive on it on both sides. This is a refill. You can buy them like single use, and that also works. But it'll just, it's just like a adhesive, double-sided adhesive, and it's very thin, and you can kind of see it on my finger. But it sticks really well. This is what I used for each of these cards. I didn't want to use the foam matting. I was really just making them for friends and family, and now with this one, I just used some pop dots, and I don't mind. They're just little pop squares or dots that you can just put on. But this was just stamped on cardstock. So that that's what I do. I try to keep my cards fairly simple. Yeah. So you can, yeah, they work. Sorry, I keep moving them too fast. Yeah, adhesive, use what you like. I like, brands that I like are Tombow. They're a little bit, Tombow is probably the most expensive, but it's the most heavy duty. So, you know, you take that for what it is. But I use, this is just Scotch 3M. You buy this thing for like 25 bucks, but then you can buy refills, and I don't remember how many yards, but it's a lot. I'm almost out of this one. But it's like, it comes out to like 3 or 4 bucks to refill one of these things, and I can make probably about 30 cards with this adhesive. So that's what I choose to do. For these panels, like the flamingo and this one, I'm probably going to do an art journal, honestly, an art journal page on it, and just journal either my thoughts or my feelings, because I like them so much. Or I might decide to give one to a friend. I haven't decided yet. But oh my gosh, look at the colors. Alizarin crimson with new gamboge and orange and violet. It makes my heart so happy. So I want to pop this yellow out a bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and use my board as a palette almost. Get my brush wet, activate the Brusho crystals. I got this beautiful warm yellow, and I can just go back in and almost glaze over all of the orange and really get that to pop, because then at the end I'm going to add black. I did that here. I'm going to add a little bit of black just to anchor everything down a bit. But right now I really want to focus on getting this to be really bright yellow, And if it's not bright enough, I can always go back in and glaze one more time. But I think it'll be perfect. I mean, you can definitely do this with any kind of pigment that you have. You don't have to use Brusho, but I find Brusho to be very fun to use with sunsets, because I get the different little dots and speckles, and it just adds more color and more texture to your sunrise or sunset. And then right in here, I really want it to be bright, so I'm going to add a second layer to that as well. And again, I have this nice little like boundary where I have this pink right here, which really works. And I'm gonna go up a little bit more with the pink up here, just so it doesn't look like I just stopped. That way. And then I don't really love this line, so I'm just going to smooth it out with water. There we go. And that's going to look beautiful. And I think I just need to add a little bit more pigment right here, but instead of sprinkling it on, I'm going to be more deliberate. I think that will just really add to the sky, the dramatic aspect to the sky. And then again, if I don't want any harsh lines, which I don't, skies are usually pretty fluid, I can just soften those edges with some clean, damp water. Yeah. And that is how I do a very vibrant sunset. Let me clean off my work surface just a little bit to show you. There we go. And it'll dry. It will dry a little bit lighter, but it will also adding that pink back into it, and that orange and the yellow will just adds another layer of saturation, and that's what we're going for. So then when it's completely dry, I'll very lightly go in with some brown or something to anchor the flamingos. Okay, let's look at this. It's not a mess. It's just a little bit wild, and like I was afraid that line was going to be too much, so I'm just going to actually add alizarin crimson and see what happens. See if I can't dull that line down. I'm going to activate it with water. It's still a little wet, so I can play around. Oh, Naja, thanks. I'm so glad you could join us. I'm wondering what time it is in your neck of the woods, because I feel like you're either up really early or you're staying up really late. Now with this, because it's just a really fun sky, I'm just letting gravity do its thing. I don't know, has anyone watched Jean Haynes? She has a wonderful book, the atmospheric watercolors, and one of her exercises is to just let the watercolor start at the top and watch it drip down and not really mess with it too much. And I learned so much from doing that it's now my new favorite way to just add texture and beauty to watercolor. So anyways, if you get a chance to look up Jean Haynes' atmospheric watercolors, her first book, it's really good. I think The World of Watercolor is also a really good one, and that one might have came before atmospheric watercolors. But with Brusho, she has like a very loose style, and Brushos really work well with her style. So that's what That's where my mind was going with that. I really like this yellow right in here. I don't know if you can see it. Like there's yellow right here and there's orange right down here. I'm gonna try and add more of this yellow here, because I can. And again, if I know that this is just an art journal piece, or I might even add like a scripture sentiment, on fear or something, that faith is brighter than your fear or something, and then hang it in my house just to remind me that, you know, I don't have to be fearful of what's going on. Which, by the way, I am a stay-at-home mom, and I just put in papers to keep my kids home this school year, to keep them safe from the virus. So they get to be home with me all day for what seems like forever. But you know what? Every family is different, and my kids have asthma, and I cannot risk them being sick with a respiratory infection. So we're playing it safe. Hopefully it's the right choice. I feel pretty confident that I can teach them what they need to. But so there you go. That's what's going on in my life and my in the crazy world that we live in. I could sit here and play for hours. I'm gonna let it be. I really like this bright yellow. My thing with sunsets and with Brushos is this was very much a happy accident. I had in mind this yellow, and the alizarin crimson is just beautiful. It has this warm and red tone mixed together when you use the new gamboge. I was hoping for it to be more diagonal, and it didn't quite work, but oh my gosh, that texture up here and right here, it just makes me happy. So anyways, the most important thing is to remember your color theory when it comes to sunsets. If you know you're going to get mud, don't put them next to each other. Either let it dry and then add it, or just put a buffer color in between. And that's really my own set of rules. Now here is the one that I just did, that I added to, and if I had waited just a little bit longer, I probably wouldn't have gotten this watermark. But I don't mind this watermark, only because it's the sky and a cloud. It looks like it's just a beautiful cloud that is coming forth. So if I really wanted to, I could spend a little bit more time and darkening this up a little bit, just to kind of pop that. But I don't know if I will or not, but that's something you could do. This is dry enough. Let me show you how I would just add that. So I know that purple and yellow make a very nice warm brown. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm actually just adding purple on top of yellow, which is another word for glazing. So I'm just glazing this. It's by nature it's going to look brown because I'm using purple and yellow to make that happen. But I'm not using brown because I want it to be harmonious. I want the colors to be as harmony as I can. And then I'm going to soften this edge, because we already see the grass there. I like that. That just polishes that up. It grounds the flamingos. If I wanted to, I could go in with another darker layer again and just really make it happen. But I'm pretty happy with how it is right now. And then I'll just use my brush with the grass and just add where I think it needs more of that shadow. So I don't want it to look like I just painted it in. There. I like that. That'll work. Now I could do the same thing here too with the violet. And let's try that. Those purple hills. Yeah. and I would just go in again on a different layer and make it darker, which, why not? There, I like that. I think I'll leave it the way it is. Anyways, you can tell that I'm having fun with this because I'm not leaving it alone. And sometimes what I'll do when it comes to sunsets is I'll stamp or draw, doodle a couple of them, and then in an afternoon just play with my brushos. And I don't know, I call it color meditation or color therapy because every time I'm done playing with brushos, my mood is just happier because I just played with all my favorite colors for for the afternoon. So anyways, I'm grateful to have done this. I hope this helps you learn how to play with your brushos, use your brushos. You know, there's no right or wrong way to use your brushos, just as long as you're using it and it's not in the container, right? I'm just play with them and see what happens. There's always happy accidents that happen, and there's always those ones that don't quite turn out the way you wanted it to, but you learn more than you get when you make mistakes, and yeah, it's fun. But anyways, if you have questions, I'm always here to answer them. I'm going to look through my comments real quick, and then if you have anything else, I'll answer them. Oh yeah, so you could seal your Brusho paintings, Marion. They make an acrylic spray that you could put on. I usually make them for art journaling or cards, or like I'll have little things around my house with, you know, like I just art journal a lot. And when I say art journal, then I don't actually share the journaling, I just share the artwork. But I like to, sometimes I will use an acrylic spray. The one I use is from Krylon, and it's just an acrylic spray, and I just spray it over it. It also could be called fixative. That's another name for it, although a fixative is meant for more pastels, but I don't think it would really matter if it's pastel or Brusho. Either one would work. Oh my gosh, Marion, I'm so happy you met Jean Haynes. She's awesome. Um, yeah, I bet she is inspirational. I just love her books. Yeah, you're welcome, you guys. I don't see any other questions. If you do, you can always message me too. I don't mind getting messages. If I get like a ton of messages, then I might feel overwhelmed, but so far I haven't felt overwhelmed with your messages or your comments. So feel free to ask. I'm an open book. I don't mind. I'm very down to earth. I try to, like, I don't know, be as helpful as I can. So anyways, yeah, thanks so much for watching, you guys. Paint and check out Blue Night Stamps if you like to stamp, or if you're looking into stamping. These stamps are really great for these techniques. So anyways, I'll talk to you guys later.